everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Live, Love, and Eat show. Now, our special guest today is Tracy Markley. Now, Tracy Markley is the owner of Tracys Personal Training, Pilates, and Yoga Studio. She is the author of 9 books. Her work is known for training stroke survivors. She also created the CEC course, Stroke Recovery Training for the Fitness Industry. Tracy was one of the IDEA 2020 Personal Trainer of the Year Finalists. She is recognized for her workbooks and helping stroke survivors worldwide. She is a NFHOF Pro National Fitness Hall of Fame, recognized as one of today's top trainers in 2019. She believes knowledge is power and has earned many certifications in the fitness industry. Welcome, Tracy.
Hi, thank you.
Thank you for being here. Now, before we start, tell our listeners, how did you get started in your career? And tell us your story.
I started in like my late 20s. I actually started doing more exercising. I always exercised and did gymnastics and handstands and stuff like that. But I was actually kind of going through a sad, depressed time a little bit. And it made me, I actually read a story that Kathy Smith, remember Kathy Smith? She started doing she got into the business because she lost both parents, so was depressed, and someone told her exercise will help. So I started getting more into exercise, and then I just started doing it. I wanted to teach classes and learn more, and I ended up like teaching class at the YMCA and just kind of spanned from there. And then when I started my studio, I was actually working full-time as a secretary to 7 pediatricians, and they let me change my hours so I could still be full-time and then leave work at 2 o'clock in the afternoon and go to my studio. And when I started, I went to college for 2-year certification. It took me like 3 years I was working, but a degree or certification in fitness. I didn't just do a weekend course. But even with all that knowledge, I started meeting people who's had fibromyalgia, injuries, spine injuries, arthritis. And I thought, well, I didn't learn much about that except for little paragraphs or a page here and there. So I went and studied exercise and fibromyalgia, exercise and osteoporosis. I just started branching. So I just started expanding my education. And then I did a lot with learning about the core and the deep spine muscles and everything. Before core was like the fad, it was actually just, the real structures of the core. And then as this time moved on, I ended up moving to Oregon. And then I started getting, it's a retirement community where I am. So there's a lot of older seniors. And I started finding that all my work I've done works really good with seniors in balance and walking condition, learning their walking gait and posture, fall prevention, and stroke recovery. It just kind of just started working. What I've always done worked really well for that. And it started with my man in my first book. I did other stroke survivors before him, but my first book was A Stroke of an Artist, The Journey of a Fitness Trainer and Stroke Survivor, which I redid it during COVID. It's now, we originally wanted to call the book Dear Stroke, You Suck. So I brought the book back out with a new title, updated the anatomy pictures and made it larger print. So now it's Dear Stroke, You Suck, but same book. Anyway, with him, he was in a walker and so raw when I met him. I've never started a stroke survivor that raw. And we realized what the work I do works real well with it. And it kept working. He wanted his story shared. I wrote the book. It brought more work and just kept going from there. And now I have 4 books for stroke recovery in my series. And I wanted to go more into education. So now I'm teaching fitness professionals how to train for stroke recovery and doing more courses, teaching live and writing that way. So that's kind of where I'm at now. That's where I want to continue in that too.
That is wonderful. You are doing such amazing work. Now, I want to talk a little bit about your books. I have 3 of them here. And this one, The Stroke of an Artist, The Journey of of a fitness trainer and stroke survivor. I've read this one, and this is a remarkable story, just following his journey and how you have helped him, recover. Also, your next book, The Tipping Towards Balance as well. And then stroke recovery. Now you have lots of other books. I only have these 3 books. You have The Power of Your Spine, How Back Strength and Posture Pilots the Entire Body, Your Stroke, You Suck. Is that the journey of a fitness trainer and a stroke survivor? That's the one. Regaining arm movement, stroke recovery, leg stability, and walking gait. Your brain, yeah, the engine to your body, and your brain, the kids edition. So you have all these books, and they're all amazing. And I want to go back to, stroke. I think we all know what a stroke is, but we don't really know what a stroke is. Can you tell our audience, what is a stroke? And, just to give them a better understanding.
So stroke is basically, it's a brain injury caused by a lack of blood flow to the brain. And there's hemorrhagic strokes and I just went brain blank. There's a bunch of different kinds of strokes. There's 2 main ones, and my brain just went blank on that one. But one of them is where there's like a burst in a blood vessel or an artery in the brain, and it causes when it bursts, it can cause the cells around the burst to die off, and it causes brain injury. And then when the other one you can have a blood clot that goes there. And then as there's other branches off of them. And there's also the mini stroke, was the TIA, which sometimes people don't even know they have them. Mm-hmm. It doesn't cause a giant effect throughout their body, but it's a brain injury too. And it can also mean they may be in the position they're going to have a bigger stroke. Not always, but it's kind of a pre-sign saying, watch out. But I can't believe I forgot the other stroke name. I say them all the time. But as I work with people, I learn there's so many. Someone will say, oh, I had this kind of a stroke, so I haven't heard of that. Oh, it's a rare one because it's, I have this disease. So there's so many different kinds, but basically it's the normal blood flow being interrupted to the brain. And it causes that part of the brain not to get blood flow, and it causes brain cells to die. And depending where it is in the brain, it can be, a quarter of an inch over further than the person next to them that had a brain injury from their stroke, and their symptoms are different, and they heal different, or they recover different. And it's quite, and there, thousands of people, millions of people have a stroke in the US. I think studies I recently saw in the last month was one out of every 4 people will have a stroke, and then there was every 40 seconds, someone's having a stroke in the United States. It's a lot. And it's, kind of travels worldwide.
Yeah. If somebody, had a stroke, how can I say this? Okay, so if somebody had a stroke, like you say, it's different for each person. If somebody comes to you and they had a stroke, what are you working on? Do you work on just one thing, or are you looking at the patient, or your client, and see where the client, needs to recover?
Yeah, I take them individually where they're at, because someone may come and they may just be a little off in their walking gait. They may have had the exact same diagnosis in their stroke than someone next to them, and the other person, maybe their arms stuck in a flex, or their shoulders stuck in their ear, or they can't walk or stand. So yeah, so I take them for where they're at, what they've gone through. Their medical history plays into it too, but as a fitness professional, it's more the physical side, but you have to kind of connect to that too, know their meds, know if they sleep, know how they eat. But yeah, so on mostly everybody, I still train from the inside out. So whether they're just kind of shuffling their feet, or maybe they have a foot drop and they kind of drag their leg, or they have the whole right or left side, I still go to the center of the body, because you have to get to the center of the body and the core strong. and the posture upright for the brain to send messages more clear. Because it does, in my studies, it shows it's a scientific fact. If your body's in better posture, the communication from the brain for movement into the spinal cord and sending it out through the body can happen better.
Yeah, that's very important as well. And also, balance as well. And I know in one of your books, you say that, muscles are important for balance. Can you tell us a little bit why you say that?
Yes, because I have this right here. So you have a lot of muscles in your body, but think of your body like a tree, and the tree trunk. If the tree trunk is hollow, it's not going to hold the branches up very well. If it's an apple tree and it grows a lot of apples, it's going to knock the tree over, or the wind can knock it over. But if the tree trunk is solid, the branches can be strong and do more apple. So if you think of here, there's the transverse abdominis, the deep core muscle, the deepest ab muscle. It's like you have a girdle on, like when women wear girdles, zipping it up. And then you got the psoas underneath that, and the center of the body, and you got a lot of muscles in your spine. The center of the body has to be upright to keep your diaphragm up. Therefore, it can line up your shoulder joints. So when it comes to even seniors, any of us with out of balance, if your center is weak, you're going to have a harder time with your limbs. Plus, you have I don't have that picture with it, but you have a muscle, the multifidus muscle. It's a tiny muscle. It runs up and down the spine. And the brain sends a message to that muscle, stabilize the body, it's going to move. So the brain actually functions by saying, stabilize the center of the body, you're going to move your limbs. And if that's the natural flow, and this is weak here, but you're trying to get your arm movement back and you're skipping that communication, it's going to slow down the recovery, because it's going to try to go here, 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 and this is just kind of going to stop.
Yeah, that's very interesting as well. I usually see people, when you go to the shop or wherever, I see people that walk over, bent over, and that is when your muscles are, like you say, your posture is not in line, and you need a little bit of exercise, with your posture as well. Yeah. Now, the next thing I want to ask you is, nutrition. I always go back to nutrition. Is nutrition playing a huge role in, healing your clients from a stroke or, recovery?
I think so. Some of recovery is just based on the brain. No matter, someone can be hardcore eating the most nutritious food, drinking their water, doing the best therapy, and maybe that arm's just never going to come back. But I haven't found anybody like that. I just haven't. Maybe those people haven't come to me. But when you got to stay hydrated, first of all, the brain is like the engine to the car. If you don't change the oil or keep water in the engine, the car's not going to function well. And so the brain, it's like the most complex organ of the body. It's an organ. If it's not fed well and not hydrated well, it's not going to function well. So if you're eating like, oh, I just want to drink 2 sodas a day, I don't like water, they're going to be dehydrated. And when the brain's, even a partially dehydrated brain, which most of us walk around that way a lot, makes you tired, fatigued. It throws your kind of your neuro off a little bit. And if you're a senior or even a younger person with a stroke or a senior without a stroke, and you have that going on and your brain needs to heal from the stroke, you have a double whammy. Yeah. So you want us to keep that brain hydrated. And I tell people, eat well, hydrate with cucumbers or celery. You want the water, but you can hydrate through your food. And when it comes to inflammation in the body and the white starchy foods, I think that feeds into it and it can slow down the progress. So I just think the cleaner people eat, the better the brain will function. Just like you drive your car, the better gas, the better you take care of the engine, the better the car is going to run. So the better you take care of the brain, it's the engine. And being kind to yourself, that helps too. Eating good food, more of a chance the brain's going to calculate communicating to the cells throughout the body for movement. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. It does. I always say fuel your body right, with the right foods and the right nutrition. That's very, very important. And hydration as well, especially, we have summer upon us, and most people, don't drink enough water, so that's very important as well. So your books, I want to go back to your books. You wrote a book for children, The Brain. Is it called The Brain? I'm not sure yet.
Yeah, it's the kids version. So I did this book, The Brain, Your Brain, The Engine to Your Body, A Fitness Trainer's Guide to Brain Health. I wrote this, it's simple. It's simple, basic, because as I was working with clients, but mainly the stroke survivors, sharing what I just shared with you made sense to them. It made sense. Oh, so they, started, if they do what we're talking about, eating well, hydrating well, it helped them. So I thought, I just woke up one morning, let's do a kids version. So I did. So I did it, basically just telling, basics of kids: play, giggle, have fun, eat right, drink your water, hydrate your brain. You'll think better in school. You'll feel better. Don't bully people, because when we're unkind to ourselves or other people are unkind to us, it puts stress on us. And that kind of stress can cause us problems later. Or they talk about a lot of people, like people maybe are very lonely, or people that have had a harder life sometimes, they may get older and have more physical ailments because they've gone through. So I try to talk about that. But something I want to say about the hydration too. I had a trainer call me, it's been over a year now. And she said, I have a client who every time we start exercising, his muscles cramp up and hurt. What's your suggestion? So my first question was, how is he eating? He's drinking his water. So I explained her the water thing. I said, depending unless the doctor tells you different or you have kidney issues, basically it should be pretty much your body weight cut in half. 200-pound man should have about 100 ounces of water a day. And, depending, give or take on you. But so that client committed to drink water for 30 days like he should. She contacted me into the third week and said, Tracy, all his pain is gone. He doesn't cramp up anymore. Because it takes a while. If you're dehydrated, you're not going to fix it by 2 days of water. It takes 3 weeks or a month for your body to cycle it and process, I can hold this much now. Because if you hydrate, don't, it throws your whole metabolism off. And the body doesn't know, do I hold on to it? Do I release it? So when she told me that story, I loved it. Yeah. Because that was proof. But it's very hard to get clients to commit to that.
Yes, I agree with that. Hydration, I see with my clients as well. I always tell them, drink a lot of water. Sodas are not water, Water. Just drink water, and, you will see it will, staying hydrated help for so many things, especially when you're hungry. Sometimes you're not hungry, sometimes you need water, and hydration is the key, that's
it's so
hydrate. Yeah, it's very.
And a lot of people say, well, I have to go to the bathroom all the time, but it may always be that way. But if you keep it balanced, a lot of that time that cycles out.
Yeah.
Because your body learns how much to retain and how much to release. It's not just flushing it out all the time. It has to be given that chance. Like when we take hormones, or like they give them thyroid hormone. It doesn't fix in a day. It takes 2 or 3 months for the body to find the cycle of its balance. That's how the fluids are too. Yeah. And the brain's like 90% water.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. That's very true. Yeah. Now, Tracy, can you give our listeners some advice? If somebody suffered from a stroke, how can I start with recovering?
So it will depend on the, extremely of their stroke effects, but get moving as soon as they can. Get moving, listen. Hopefully they have a good doctor and therapist. Sometimes people do, sometimes people don't. Know that when you're ready to move, movement is the way you're going to get movement back. So if you're out, you're to the point, you're not like in the hospital completely out, but you're in a position, you're out of the hospital now, and now maybe you go to therapy twice a week or 3 times a week, or you're on your own completely. If you want to get a movement back, you have to do that movement. Think of a baby learning to walk. Once it's ready to, it doesn't just crawl one day and lay down for a week and stand up one day. It just keeps going. It will keep standing up until it's walking. It doesn't like, oh, once a week practice standing up. It will never learn the motor patterns and neuro skills and everything in the body will not work. So that's how it is with the physical recovery too. You can't just work on your hand once a week at therapy and never do it again. You have to do it constantly. Eat right. Try to give when the doctor, this is one thing again, it depends on your severity, but if the doctors and therapists tell you, oh, your hand will never work, oh, you won't get any recovery after 6 months or a year, that is not true. I see clients years later, they're still continuing. Like the gentleman in my book, he was at 3 years post-stroke, and he was standing on the Bosu ball, and all of a sudden, because they get numbness sometimes, he goes, oh, I just got the sensation back in my leg. All of a sudden, he just got the sensation back. Then we had to work on his balance a little more again, because now his brain needed a balance, having a feeling in the leg he didn't have. So, and then we started progressing from that. So try not to let the doctors and therapists tell you never will, because I don't believe that's true. I had a client who's 86. His arm was blue. I actually didn't think it would ever move. He's had arm therapy and physical therapists tell him they'll never move his arm. But I got him standing and doing things. And as I was working in the core and his posture and standing and fixing his neck from out here up to here, his arm wasn't that much blue anymore. And then one day, it was Sabi, my dog, his therapy dog, walked by, and his arm reached out to reach the dog. And then I realized it's coming back. So he started working on his arm. But even I didn't think it would come back. So don't always listen to the limits that people give you, because it may not be true for you. And you have to keep moving, eat right, and push through it. It's like, like maybe you're growing up and you want to be an ice skater. So you're going to, 3 hours practice every day before school. I always say, like, therapy or recovery is like an athlete training for their athlete. It's hours a day. It is your focus. Make it your focus.
That's very, very, very good advice. Now, Tracy, you are doing amazing work out in the world, and I will definitely link all your books, down this podcast, and where people can find your books and learn more about you and contacting you. And it was such a pleasure to have you today. And
thank you for having me.
Keep your light shining and keep on doing the work that you are doing. You are amazing.
Oh, thank you. You are too.
Thank you.
Everything. Bye, everyone.